Okay. Okay, we all ready? Are we missing anyone? Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:33. First of all, I just want to say Happy New Year. I know it's February, but this is the first time the commission's getting together as a group. And, I also just want to say that, I hope this upcoming year we can work together to provide good recommendations to City Council to make our communities safer for everyone. So with that, Amanda, will you do roll call?
Yes, Chair Patricia Trouth,
Here.
Vice Chair Glenn Johnson,
Present.
Chris Duncan, James Gross is absent, Ron Meddock,
Here.
Paul Templin,
Here.
and David Thiele.
Here.
Okay. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let's see, special presentations and proclamations. Do we have an update from the Sheriff's Department on enforcement?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes, do we have an update on enforcement tonight?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go over just January. I know we haven't been here in 3 months. The end slide is going to kind of include November and December, but this first slide is just going to show January statistics. So in January, we wrote 549 citations and had 16 collisions. The dots on the map show the locations of the collisions, and there's a breakdown of what the collisions were down below. If you guys have any questions, I'll ask at the end. Feel free to ask. The next slide, basically the next few slides, is what we wrote our citations for. It's a breakdown. So I made it really simple. The top 4 citations that we're issuing, if you continue down, is for speeding, red lights. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. We wrote a lot of citations. Right there. Those are the top 4 violations that we're citing for. So speeding, cell phone violations, stop sign, and red light. Those are the most things that we're citing for in the city. And then we had 13 DUI arrests in the month of January. So the next slide is going to kind of show you what happened in the month of November and December. And what we did was break it down and we compared 2024 with 2025, because I know you guys have been asking us to compare the different years. So as you can see in DUI arrests, our arrests have been increasing, which is not a bad thing. It doesn't mean there's more people drinking and driving. We're just increasing our enforcement. So we're making a lot more DUI arrests, especially October, November. December, we had a lot of rain, so that unfortunately kind of makes it a little challenging for us. But as far as collisions, you'll see that collisions have gone down. So from 2024 to 2025, we're seeing a decrease in the amount of collisions. In January, we had 16 collisions. Last year, we had 25. So once again, we're seeing a decrease in collisions. We're increasing our DUI enforcement. We're getting more DUI arrests. And so I'm hoping that's a correlation. But overall, we're seeing a good pattern. So we're going to try to keep it up. That is it. Any questions?
Yeah, I just had one. I was just curious. I noticed there's a lot of expired registration So I guess I could guess what that means, but it's just people that basically haven't registered their car yet, or it's overdue?
Yes. That is
Okay.
correct.
And is there any kind of correlation to that with any other kind of activity, or people with expired registrations tended to be, I don't know, poor drivers or get in accidents, or why do they even get pulled over in the first place, I guess?
Not just traffic deputies, but all deputies, we're out trying to do enforcement. So we're looking for reasons to pull cars over. And that's one of the reasons that we're seeing a lot of. So they're pulling them over. And if they happen to find somebody with a warrant, they make an arrest, they're trying to do their job, right? Do investigations. If it's just a simple, you just have expired registration, they get a fix-it ticket and they're on their way.
Okay. And you're just doing that by looking at the tag on the license plate, basically?
Yes, and then we have our dispatch run it to confirm it is expired.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a couple questions, Christie. First, were there any incidents involving cyclists? I didn't see any bicycles on the road.
I think we had, not in January. We had a pedestrian, but not any bicyclists.
Okay. And the pedestrian, can you give us a little granularity on that? What was the,
That was in a parking lot, very slow speed, person walking, looking at their phone, walking out to their car. Car came around the corner to park, and it was a very slow speed contact where the pedestrian got knocked over.
was there an injury?
She had a brain bleed, so it was a pretty significant injury. But once again, it was in a parking lot, and it was a very slow speed collision.
One question, Sergeant Trampus, thank you. We're going to be speaking about red light cameras a little later and on the data here. Just curious if you or nationally, statewide, any stats on, I think I saw 14 or 15 red light violations. Is there any way to project that up? Like if you're getting that many, does that project up to say, okay, well, then there's actually this many in reality? Because obviously you're catching very few of them as they happen. So is there any stat that would help us correlate or extrapolate what the actual numbers, just ballpark, might be based on that number of citations?
I don't think we'd be able to give you stats of how many people are actually running them. We can give you statistics of like collisions that have occurred due to red light running at intersections. I don't have that data in front of me, but
That's fine.
we'd be able to give basically collisions caused by red light running.
Yeah.
It is difficult at some, like the larger intersections, to enforce red light runners because the deputies are having a hard time posting up. Like the
Right.
motorcycles have to basically kind of park on the sidewalk. There's no safe place for them to post up on some of the larger intersections. So it's been a bit of a challenge at some of the intersections to enforce, but they're doing the best they can.
Is there any knowledge or history of when there is an officer present, sitting there in visible view, that does change red light behavior?
Well, they're still getting some.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, I don't know if it's deterring, if people are seeing them, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know the answer on that one.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
To follow up on Commissioner Duncan's questions, I got a ticket for running a red light about 7 or 8 years ago. I was up in Truckee in Northern California on my bicycle and made a right turn at 7:30 in the morning. And there was nobody in the intersection, there was nobody on the road, so I just went right through it. And a police officer pulled me over and gave me a ticket. I didn't endanger anybody. So what I'm wondering is, do you guys do any kind of breakdown of what kind of red light running it is? How much of it occurs during the middle of the period of the red light? For example, say 4 or 5 seconds after the lights changed versus at the beginning, or versus a right turn when there's nobody even present at the intersection. It doesn't mean that the law changes for any of those, obviously. But what it does is give an indication of what the level of danger is. Because otherwise, it's easy to imagine that 150 violations a month, which I think there was a reference to in some circumstance, if those are people going through in the middle of the intersection, middle of the red light, well, there's going to be a lot of serious damage and loss of life, et cetera. So I'm wondering if we have any breakdown. Do you guys do any kind of breakdown?
When we enter the ticket, we don't have a way of breaking down details like that. The deputies do put notes on the back of their tickets so that if they have to testify in court, they can remember exactly what happened. But we don't have a way of documenting, a stale red versus just turned red. And then, we can tell you whether they were making a left or a right or going straight, because that's different subsections of the penal code or vehicle code. That I can tell you, but the other answer, no, we don't have a way to document that.
I do, yeah. Thank you, Sergeant Trampus. Thank you very much for the report. I have a question. 30% increase DUI arrests is quite a lot. And I know that if I can recall in November's meeting, we were talking about a blitz, if that's the terminology that I'm using correctly. Is that due? Were you blitzing in January, or is this you've narrowed down the station of the motor and they're grabbing people at the right time and place?
So no, the traffic blitz is just going out doing enforcement as far as like red lights, cell phones, stuff like that. The DUI enforcement, the city has given us 2 new positions for DUI cars. And we've also been adding a lot of DUI enforcement based on grant money we received from the Office of Traffic Safety. So we've had a lot of overtime deputies coming in, working on that grant to do nothing but DUI saturation patrol. And that's where a lot of those are coming from.
Wow, excellent. I just have another question, kind of to follow up on Commissioner Duncan's, and that is, do you have any experience or past experience, not necessarily in the city of Encinitas, but in your other positions in different cities with automated enforcement?
There is are you talking the red light cameras? There's one in Del Mar, and there's one in Solana Beach right now. It's not under the new bill, where they're not taking photos of the driver. They're still operating under the old system. So we cover Del Mar and Solana Beach. So we are still, familiar with those and working with those.
And do you find that that is effective?
I don't have the data in front of me. I know I'm not personally in charge of the numbers. I can get that information for you for next month if I'll make a note and get that info. But I don't know the numbers of tickets that we're getting out of those on the top of my head.
That's okay, that's fair. Thank you.
Okay, next is oral communication. Amanda, do we have some speakers?
Yes, we do have 2 speakers. I just wanted to clarify, Abigail Brown, if you wanted to speak for 10A or, oh, okay, thanks. So we have 2, Abigail Brown and then Steve Sesnauskas.
Thank you again for your time. My name is Abigail Brown, and I live in Village Park 1. This is my second time coming before you regarding the intersection of Parkdale Lane and Village Park Way. The intersection is part of a designated safe route to school. Children walk through it every single day to and from Parkdale Lane, my daughters included. In August, the city installed yellow crosswalk striping and blinking lights. While I appreciate the effort, I'm here tonight to say very clearly those measures have not improved safety. The conditions remain dangerous, and in some ways, they create a false sense of security. I understand this is a very unique residential situation. Village Parkway carries 3 lanes of traffic in each direction, while Parkdale Lane has 1 lane in each direction. This means a crossing guard or any pedestrian must monitor up to 8 lanes of traffic at once. That simply is not realistic or safe. No single person can effectively track that many moving vehicles, especially when cars are traveling at speeds higher than posted and not consistently stopping. Just yesterday, I crossed the intersection during a run at 2:30 p.m. In that time, I was nearly hit by 2 separate vehicles, each coming within a few feet while I was fully in the crosswalk. At this point, it is not a matter of if, but when someone is hit in this intersection. Whether that be a child walking to school, a crossing guard doing their job, or a pedestrian simply out for a run. I have been compiling video documentation I will share at the next meeting. Be prepared to see some disturbing incidents in which crossing guards, parents, and even kids are nearly missed by moving vehicles. Until then, I urge for you to come out and join me at 7:45 to see what's happening. The current calming measures are not working. I respectfully ask that the commission recommend a formal evaluation of this intersection and consider additional traffic calming measures, whether that's physical design change, such as bump outs and raised crosswalks, enforcement tools, or other proven strategies that will slow vehicles down and protect pedestrians. Until then, we would love to see additional sheriff presence. This is my second time here because the risk is ongoing. Waiting until someone is seriously injured or worse is not acceptable when we already know there's a problem. Thank you for listening, and thank you for helping protect the children and families who rely on this route every day.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Steve Chesnowskis. I'm the Chair of the Public Health and Safety Commission. I was the chair about 6 months ago, just became the chair, and I've been communicating with a lot of outside special interest groups that have come to our commission, and I know they come to your commission also. And I really feel that there needs to be some transparency between the commissions and us kind of bringing our collaborative efforts together and aligning ourselves with what the city's needs are, the citizens' needs are, the community's needs. Sometimes it's frustrating me to be where you're sitting and listening to people here at the podium and not being able to give them the answers that they need, and they're running from commission to commission to commission, trying to figure out who do we talk to. So some of my goals are to personally kind of hand walk a few of these people just to get them in the right spots, to get their voice heard through putting them on agendas and things like that. And I really, really encourage all of you. I know we're going through changing the guards here pretty quick, but if you're in the 26th commission and thereforth, I think that we need to work a lot better together. I'm going commission to commission to really focus in on this transparency. You know, it's for the city. It's for the citizens of the city. So with that all being said, I appreciate you listening to me, and I will forward the chair my information. You can reach out to me at any time, and hopefully we could work together and make this place a better place. So thank you.
Okay, changes to the agenda. Do any of the commissioners want to change the format of the agenda? No? Okay, move on. Next is approval of the minutes. This is from our November meeting. Any comments? Can I have a motion?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Amanda? Okay. You want to-
Are you all able to sign in?
Yeah.
Just need to click sign it.
Okay. Okay. very
Motion
good.
carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next we have the action items. 8A. Let's see, for anyone who wants to speak on this agenda item, you need to submit a pink slip. Each speaker is allowed to speak for 3 minutes to address the commission. A maximum of 2 time donations per speaker is allowed, no more than 9 minutes total, and the person donating the time must be present. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Abe.
Thank you, Chair. Per our bylaws, we do select new chair and vice chair at the first meeting of each calendar year, and this position, the chair and co-chair will remain chairs until, per our bylaws, until the end of the last meeting of the year. There is a minor tweak that needs to be made with our bylaws, because technically the chair at the end of the calendar year is not chair anymore, so your starting the meeting is not clean with our bylaws. We'll fix it with the upcoming revision of the bylaws. But this being the first meeting, we select our new chair and vice chair. I want to use the opportunity to, this was brought up, our city council will be selecting 3 new commissioners this coming Wednesday. 3 of our commissioners, one of them, our commissioner, our vice chair Johnson, is being termed out, and 2 of our commissioners, Commissioner Gross and Commissioner Duncan, I believe, have Commissioner Thiele, sorry, decided to not apply for reselection or reappointment by the city council. I want to use the opportunity to appreciate the service to the city and our residents, and helping me with the commission these past few years. With that, Chair, I'll open it to the commissioners. Our standard practice has been nomination of a chair and a second, and then a vote, and then we'll have another motion for a vice chair and a vote after for selection of a chair and a vice chair.
I did have a question. Given the shift in the composition, I was wondering if we could push this out till next meeting. I mean, there's 3 people leaving, and the commission's going to be quite different. It seems like we ought to give those folks an opportunity to participate.
You want to?
Dan Nutter, city engineer. So your current bylaws, and these bylaws were drafted, enacted, approved by this commission body, do state that the election will be had on the first meeting of the new calendar year. Now, Commissioner Templin, to your question, the commission as a body, you guys can have an opportunity to make a motion and vote to, I guess it would be to maybe a
You just move it to the next meeting.
Yeah, to a date certain, so you could do the next meeting, or you can vote now, or I should say you could do the election now. So you really do have that ability either way. If you do want to postpone to a date certain, that would just have to be a motion and a vote by the commissioners.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and move that we postpone this to the next meeting, given that there's going to be so many new people participating next year, and they aren't here now.
I second that.
Okay, we can open it up for discussion. Can I get some feedback from the other commissioners?
Yeah, I mean, does that mean we would just vote on it now?
Yeah, so Commissioner Duncan, exactly. The commission as a body, you guys can have a deliberation and you can discuss how you feel each of you as commissioners may want to move forward, and that would be your discussion deliberation period. Once the deliberation has concluded, then you would do a vote. And if the vote does in fact move the motion, then this election for chair and vice chair will move to, I would presume, I apologize, Commissioner Templin, I don't know if you made it your motion for a date certain to the next meeting.
Yeah, dates certain, the next meeting.
Then it would move the election to the March meeting.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what is your reason for doing so?
Oh, just that the people that are going to be on this commission for the rest of the year, 3 of them are not here and aren't going to be able to participate in the vote.
Yeah, they will in their following terms. I mean, we've all stepped in to this
Right.
existing commission.
It just,
They don't know. I mean, are you expecting one of them to be the chair?
I don't know. But I mean, it seems to me it just, to me it just seems sort of like we're disenfranchising these people because they're going to be the chairman and a vice chair here, and then as
We all stepped in to existing chairs. and
Absolutely.
vices, so
but that would be my argument.
Yeah, I want to respect the way it was in the bylaws. I'm fine with keeping it the way it is, so. if we
Okay.
can vote.
Well, I guess we're already violating the bylaws because we're supposed to have a chairman for this meeting, then we don't have one. Or we have, the previous chairman just acting instead. So I wouldn't get too hung up on that, but I understand.
I'd just like to comment. I think, the new commissioners that we'll have on our commission, there's a learning curve associated with decision-making and, understanding how the commission works. So I'd have to go along with Commissioner Duncan and do it per our bylaws.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I was one of the first meetings I was at. I had the opportunity to vote for both the chair and the vice chair. So I hope this is not a particularly divisive issue for anybody. But it just seems to me that might as well give those people an opportunity. And then, there's 3 people that are leaving. 2 of them are here that would be voting on this, and then they're going to be leaving and not really. It just seems like it would be a little bit more democratic to do it, to just postpone it. And I guess I don't really understand the downside to doing it, but.
I mean, I'd like to point out that last year when Paul and I came on board, we didn't vote for the chair until April 10th. Actually, I think that's not a bad time. And when we had no bylaws, right? So the bylaws were put into place. They were adopted from other commissions, and there was not a lot of deliberation about the bylaws at the time. And I think I was actually going to bring this up as something to discuss because I think it'd be better to have the vote later in the year, let the previous chair continue for at least 1 month. I wouldn't mind 2, so that the new commissioners, and especially in a year like this where there's 3, get to become acquainted both with the commission, with the personalities involved, so that they actually can choose a chair with some knowledge about what they're doing, and not have other people choose the chair for them.
Okay, any more comments?
I do, if I may. In my experience, I think experience is valuable in this case. With the new commissioners, I think, in fact, they might feel uncomfortable having to vote on a chair and vice chair that they don't know and haven't had any experience with them, and the process and just the kind of the basic process of the commission. And so I think there is value in voting amongst us. We know each other, and of course, if you're not happy with the current situation, then you would vote that way. But I think it's valuable to vote amongst us currently.
I'd like to comment that this would give the 3 new members a chance to serve as chair or vice chair. And if they have experience on some other commission, they might be quite qualified. However, I'm torn because I think I have my own opinion as to who should be the chair, and I don't know about vice chair.
Okay, so, excuse me, we have a motion on the floor,
Yes, we do.
and we have a second. So we need to vote.
And I'm sorry, who was the second?
Ron
Commissioner
was.
Mehta.
I don't think, yeah, it hasn't come up yet.
I'll have-
Sorry.
Okay, so the motion failed, so we are now going to continue with the, with our election. Do I have someone that would?
I'd like
Yes.
to nominate Paul Templin for chair.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I was going to nominate you. I'm going to nominate you to another term.
Okay.
Tricia.
Okay. So I guess I need a little, go ahead, Commissioner.
And I'd like to nominate Patricia Truth for chair.
Okay.
I would also like to nominate the current chair.
Okay, so can you provide a little, staff provide a little support on this? So we just go ahead and vote on it now, is that right?
Yeah, you can, any nomination with a second, you just vote, and then if it doesn't have the majority, then you vote on the next person.
Very good. Okay, so we have three of you that nominate. One of you needs to second it. Someone needs to second it. Okay.
So the motion, I'm sorry, the motion was from, was it Commissioner Duncan?
I motion to nominate Patricia. And Ron
Patricia.
nominated Paul.
Okay.
And there was a second by,
Yeah, I guess I can second myself.
okay.
Okay, so I would recommend to the commission, the first motion, I believe that was by Commissioner Meddock. If there is a second to that motion, then you can vote on that motion.
Yep.
If there is no second to that motion, then you can create a new motion by any commissioner that then make it a second and then vote.
Right, so it sounded like Commissioner Meddock had made the motion, and Commissioner Templin, you're seconding.
Yeah.
Okay, so we could go ahead and vote on that.
I never saw that motion until the voting was already done.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Did you all vote?
Yeah, as
Oh,
one.
okay. I'll just do it verbally. I don't know that it's going to allow me to do it again, so I'll go ahead and do it verbally if you don't mind. Commissioner Meddock,
Yes.
Commissioner Duncan,
No.
Commissioner Johnson,
What are we voting on?
for Commissioner Templin to be chair.
I'll vote no.
Okay. Commissioner, Chair Trouth,
No.
Commissioner Thiele,
No.
and Commissioner Templin.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we already have a motion on the floor and a second.
Oh, and a second.
Right.
I'll do that again, if you don't mind, sorry. So this is for Chair Trouth to continue as chair for this calendar year. Commissioner Meddock?
No.
And Commissioner Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Chair Johnson?
Yes.
Chair Trouth?
Yes.
Commissioner Thiele?
Yes.
And Commissioner Templin?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion passes.
Okay. Okay, so let's see, we're on 8B.
Oh, you need the same motion for vice chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Okay. Let's see, do I have nominations for vice chair?
Commissioner Duncan?
I'll second that.
Did you want to go ahead and vote on that one?
Any comments?
Yeah, you can either deliberate or you can vote.
Okay. I think we're ready to vote.
Okay. Commissioner Maddock? Commissioner Duncan?
All abstain.
Vice Chair Johnson?
Yes.
Chair Trouth?
Yes.
Commissioner Thiele?
Yes.
And Commissioner Templin?
Yes.
Thank you. That motion carries as well.
Okay. See, we're on to 8B. Abe?
Yes. Okay, Chair. Thank you very much, Abe Bandigan, City Traffic Engineer. Here tonight, we're presenting our newest batch of speed surveys for various roads of the city. And with commission recommending those, hopefully to City Council, also revising our AB 43 list, the Assembly Bill AB 43 that allows additional 5 mile per hour reduction on certain roads, and also recommending a list of locations for implementing the new Assembly Bill 382 that went into effect this year. A short summary of why we're here. The speed surveys are used to establish speed limits at various roads of the city. The process is a well-established national process, well documented in California Vehicle Code and in our Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, MUTCD. The process basically goes off of prevailing speed of vehicles on the road. We collect data of vehicles driving, people driving their vehicles on the road, and the 85th percentile, which is the speed at which 85% of those of the vehicles on the road are driving at that speed or below, basically establishes the prevailing speed. That says the majority of the drivers feel comfortable driving at this speed, so this should be the basis for setting the speed limit of the roadway. Now, the law gives us different timelines with regards to how long this speed survey can be valid for a deputy to be able to enforce that speed limit. There are different numbers. There's a 7-year, there's a 10-year, there's a 14-year, and these validities are based on the character of the road and changes made to the road. If there's no change made to the road, meaning the number of lanes hasn't changed, the lane hasn't been narrowed, there's no buffered bike lane introduced to an existing road, these kind of changes hasn't happened, then the speed survey can be validated longer, not to have public agencies redo these surveys. However, if changes are made, these surveys have to be renewed for a deputy to be able to issue citations and then defend those in court. Now, we have 63 roadways in the city that have speed surveys. Out of these, about 20 of those have not experienced any change, and their speed surveys are still valid. We can keep them for another 6 years or so. The other 41 roads, we redid their speed surveys, and these are here for the commission for review and recommendation to City Council. As a summary, none of the roads in the city other than one will experience a speed limit change. Every speed limit on the roadway will remain unchanged. One segment of El Camino Real that's currently 50 mile per hour will go down to 45. That's the staff recommendation because we don't have any other 50s in the city. We wanted our urban area, our residential areas to be around below 50, and the law allows us to reduce it to 45. One thing to note is that previously we had several roads that we, using Assembly Bill 43, reduced those by an additional 5 mile after results of the speed surveys were out. However, post-implementing AB 43 and reducing our speed limits on the city and replacing those signs with lower speed limit signs, our most recent speed survey showed that at many of those roadways, now our prevailing speed is actually lower. So people adjusted with the lower speed limits that we set on those streets of the city after applying AB 43 speed reduction. Now this time, we do not need to apply that additional 5 mile AB 43 reduction to them. We can just go with the standard speed survey results and just set the speed limit based on findings of the speed survey without manually reducing them by additional 5, which we did. Technically, we are allowed to again take them by additional 5 by applying AB 43 to them. This hasn't been a staff recommendation, but again, this can be a recommendation by commission that we still want to maximize lowering the speeds, even if it means reapplying AB 43 to the streets that has once been applied, but because the findings now show they can have the same speed limit as it is, and AB 43 can again be applied to them, it can be the recommendation of commission to reduce the speed limit on those roads as well. 63 roads now, 41 of those have new speed surveys. The AB 43 list has been revised. We'll go to council, we'll have a new ordinance with it that would show all of the streets that AB 43 is applied to, and there is a short list of locations where AB 382, which is a 20 mile per hour school zone signage, we are recommending it be added at our school sites within 500 feet of the school grounds. We're allowed to have a 20 mile per hour school zone speed. That's also our recommendation. There is a summary table that shows all of these changes in one single table that commission can, this is the list. This table shows the data collections that were made, the existing speed limit, the 85th percentile speed, the 10 mile per hour pace, which is the 10 mile range where the most number of vehicles were detected within this range, and the percent of the vehicles in this 10 mile range, and the staff's recommended speed limit. With that said, Chair, I'm open to questions.
Okay, Commissioner Duncan?
Yeah, thank you, Abe. My monitor isn't working, so I can't zoom in on it. Is the intersection Village Park and Parkdale Lane on here?
The
that
intersections
area,
are
those
not on the
streets?
list, but the
Just
roadway segment
streets.
would be, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
I'm
the
just
Village
curious if we're
Parkway
looking
is
at
number
that.
59.
And what is the current speed limit there for those roadways?
35, if I'm not mistaken, Villa Spring to Encinitas Boulevard. The 85th is 30, the speed limit is 35, the 85th was 41, and the recommended speed limit remaining unchanged is 35. Now, this is one of the roads that the previous 85th percentile was much higher. We applied the AB, so the speed limit previously was 40. The AB 43 did allow us to reduce the speed limit by additional 5, made it 35 mile per hour, but now the prevailing speed on the road justifies the 35 without the need to apply AB 43 to it.
With it being at 35 now, and the 41 is the average speed that we're seeing.
41 is the 85th percentile, correct.
So what would be the process? Would we need more validation? I don't know what other validation we would need. We've heard from somebody about the intersection there, and whether it be speed causing it or not. Speed is one of the first things we can address. What would it take to get that 35 lowered to 30?
There would be the recommendation of the commission to apply AB 43 to this road and make it a 30 mile per hour.
I'd like to propose that if anybody wants to second it.
I second.
Can I have a motion to do that? Or actually, what you're looking for is recommendations to move this forward to city council,
Correct. The complete item, yes. But this can be added to the motion.
Oh,
To
okay.
recommend to city council the package with the change of reducing the speed limit on item 59 to 30.
Okay, let's kind of hold off on that for a few minutes because there's a whole list of streets and see if there's other
what they've got
streets.
there.
Yeah,
Agreed.
okay. More comments?
I have a question, Abe, on this same street on Parkdale. I guess it's Village Parkway. You said it's 35 is the speed limit.
Correct.
Is there, since Parkdale School is not very far from there, and we do know a lot of children are crossing the street in order to get to Parkdale. As we heard from one of the people that spoke previously, and my son and his family live in Village Park, so I'm pretty familiar with that area.
You speak into the microphone so we can hear you better.
I couldn't hear you. Anyway, so
Ask
what
him
I'd like
to
to know
speak in the
is
microphone.
there a special speed limit? Usually schools have a lower speed limit at the pickup and drop-off times. Do we have anything like that on Village Parkway?
There is a school zone specific signage that says 20, it used to be 25, now with AB 382, we're allowed to do 20s or even 15s. That we will have a school zone signage, but that's within 500 feet of school grounds, which doesn't reach this area.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Abe, I had a question. Can you just go into a little bit more detail on what you mean by pace that's on that, the survey?
Yeah, so when we collect speed of vehicles for speed survey purposes, it's usually 100 vehicles. The minimum allowed is 50, but we usually go and do 100 vehicles. The pace is what police commissioners or judges sometimes look at. That's the majority of the vehicles within a 10-mile range. So when we use a radar to detect vehicles, at those 100 vehicles, somebody's driving at 20, somebody's driving at 90, somebody's driving at 30. All these vehicles, basically, we shoot them with the radar scanner, and it gives us the speed. We want to see what is a 10-mile range of the speeds that has most of the vehicles in it. And for each road, let's say for Village Park, number 59, our pace is between 34 and 43, means the majority of the vehicles that are 80% of the vehicles are driving within range. What judges usually don't, and this is not a law, but what commissioners, judges usually don't like to see is us establishing a speed limit out of this pace, which kind of says, like, if 80% of the vehicles are driving within a range and I'm setting a speed limit out of this range, I'm basically making all of them speeders. They don't like to see that. Usually with any kind of AB 43 application or the rounding or the traffic engineer reduction that I'm allowed to do, we still try to keep our speed limit. Now, again, that's not the law. There's nothing technically wrong with setting a speed limit out of the pace, but that we usually try to set the limit within the pace.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments?
I do. Thanks, Chair. Abe, thank you for your report. It's quite detailed. I have a couple of questions, and one of which is determining a school zone of 500 feet doesn't seem like very much distance. Is that state mandated, or is that?
That is correct. Now, just to clarify, our AB 43, with our council direction, did lower speeds around the schools by 5 miles per hour. Any speed limit that any road had with this within, I think it was quarter mile or something of our schools, we did lower speed limits by 5 miles per hour. This is a specific school zone speed limit. So let's say on Santa Fe, I think our speed limit was 30, and it did have the speed limit of 25 with the school zone. Now, this would allow, even if the Santa Fe speed limit remains as 30, the school zone speed would become 20. This is just for the 500 feet of the school zone where kids are present. We will lower the speed limit for that specific area.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see. So do we need two motions or just one motion for this? Like a
No,
separate
just one
for-
motion unless commissioners or one commissioner who made a motion wants to provide recommendations for because we have 3 separate recommendations. If you want to just support all 3 of them with that minor change, you can just add it to the motion that support all 3 staff recommendations. Or if you want to have other changes, other recommendations to other items, you can just do them separately. But from what I've heard right now, there's only one change. So the motion can be to recommend a staff recommendation to City Council with the change of lowering the speed limit on Village Parkway to 30.
If I recall when I read this earlier, the roads that we're looking at, there's only a handful of them, correct, that we're actually looking at right now. And the one, San Elijo, that did not fit the criteria, right, in terms of fitting that residential criteria because of number of homes around it. Can we look at that real quick?
Correct.
If I got that right?
That is actually a different list. This list, I just added it for comprehensiveness, if that's a word, purposes. So this was reviewed by commission last October. So we did have a list of streets that requested to be added on to the AB 43 list for lowered speed limits to get a 20 mile per hour speed instead of 25. We had a process, and this process was commission approved and council approved, and these roads were evaluated with that criteria, and these roads qualified. And commission on October did approve this list. Now, it hasn't gone to council yet, so we'll go with this recommendation. But this list, this specific new AB 43 roads, was reviewed by commission in October.
And just to add a little background to that, these are resident-requested reductions in speed per AB 43. So as Abe mentioned, we have an internal policy that's been approved by both the commission and council of how that policy determines whether or not a roadway would be, whether AB 43 can be applied to that particular request.
But that's a little bit of a misnomer. You said resident requested, but it's basically just one resident requested it. Is that correct?
It can be one resident and it could be multiple, but if we do receive one request, and from a traffic engineering standpoint, our traffic division, they deal with hundreds of requests for different traffic-related items throughout the year, but hundreds of requests every year. They have a very high workload. They're very diligent. But yes, Commissioner Templin, that is correct. If it is just a single request, it will still go through the process. That doesn't necessarily mean that it'll meet the policy.
Right, and if I recall from that meeting, I guess we're going a little off topic here, but there was some sort of discussion about reviewing that policy and looking to see whether we could make it a little bit more democratic. Did anything ever happen with that discussion, or we're still, if somebody wants to lower it, then the whole neighborhood, without discussing anybody else, that's what happens?
We can bring it back if that can be a separate direction from the commission. This being a policy, we can bring it back for commission review and, as you said, modify it to create some sort of a petition base for initiation of these kind of changes. But when we went to council, we didn't get that direction.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what would be the process for doing that? That's probably outside the purview of what we're talking about right now, but.
Yeah, I think it can be during a commissioner corner.
Okay.
Yeah, we can agendize it for a future meeting.
And that's also something that can go on an FY27 work plan. So I think that would be a great thought, Commissioner Templin, for a parking lot for the FY27 work plan.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your patience explaining that.
Okay, let's see, do I, any more comments?
Sorry, Abe, I just have one. And you mentioned the 50-mile-an-hour speed limit on El Camino Real. Is that the south end of El Camino?
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's number 9 between Santa Fe and Manchester.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, can I get a motion for a recommendation for the speed surveys as well as the revised streets list?
Is that including what I'd thrown out there?
Yes.
For the one?
And then including Village Park.
Village Park, yeah.
Yeah, to reduce
Yeah.
it to, from 35 to 30.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Or am I
No, I think it's your motion.
motioning? I'm sorry.
And I
I'll
second,
motion.
again, I second.
Okay, so, sorry, just to be clear, the motion is to support staff recommendation with that one change for Village Park.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I'm just waiting on Commissioner Templin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm pushing, but nothing's showing up.
Okay. What was your vote?
So it's yes.
Okay. That motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Okay, 8C. On-street short-term parking policy?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. This item, we're here due to a council direction. About 5 years ago, Commission voted on a process of evaluating requests for short-term parking, green curb around the city. This process, at that point where staff brought the recommendation, was based on business needs. What we brought was, if a business requests from the traffic division of having a 30-minute, 1 hour, 2 hour green curb due to their turnover of parking in front of their business and the needs of the business, how we would evaluate the process. The way it works is we go survey the parking turnover in front of the business, establish what that business needs, 30-minute, 1 hour, whatever the duration based on the nature of that business. And if our survey shows that the average parking occupancy within that business is more than double that, that means the customers of that business are having trouble finding parking space. Let's say a business needs a 30-minute parking, and everybody on average parks more than 1 hour or 2 hours, that means that green curb needs to be honored. That was our process. Within the process is commission review built, so that request after evaluation by staff comes to the commission. After blessing by the commission, it goes to city council. We did not want to be able to do too many green curbs all around the city without commission and council reviewing it. However, we did have a request recently last year due to the impacts of a certain development project, the construction staff or other people working on the job site, due to lack of availability of parking on the job site, parking on a residential neighborhood. And this residential neighborhood requested a green curb, basically not to allow 8 hour, 9 hour parking on that street by people who would come from, let's say, a quarter mile away or 1,000 feet away. This, because of the fact that there was no provisions in place in our criteria, did go to council. While council approved that green curb for that specific road, they directed the staff to bring this back to commission for a secondary review and possible revisions and modifications. Now, the policy in front of you is the one that was approved 5 years ago with very minor tweaks. Staff still hasn't found a process of evaluating impact on a residential road from other people outside of that. We have a permit parking program in place that can address it, but to do a short-term parking, because there's no correlation. If I have people, let's say there is a Home Depot, there's a Costco nearby, and people from that business come park on a residential road nearby. While that obviously is impactful, how would we decide if we make it a 30-minute parking, if we make it a 1-hour parking? There's no correlation between the impact of employees or the outside demand that we don't want with the selection of a green curb. It might be easier to address with the permit parking, which we already are in the process of revising that program. But we're here tonight just for the green curb purpose. If Commission has any recommendation with regards to how we should change it or how we can address this other type of green curb need, if it's even a green curb need, that's why we're here tonight to discuss and provide recommendation to staff and city council later on.
Yeah, so again, it's the policy with instituting green curb or time-limited parking. So we have an 8-step policy that staff are recommending. It's very similar, as Abe said, to the policy that we brought forth to MTSC a handful of years back. And any deliberation that commissioners would like to have, and we're happy to answer any questions about it.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to open it up to the commissioners.
So does the policy accommodate the sort of complaint about people when they're doing construction in a certain area, or it does not? It sounds like it does not.
No.
So the intent of this is not for temporary construction-related activities.
For permanent business.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
It's meant for business-related activities. That's the main intent.
So you're basically asking us if we're looking at the existing policy, if we want to make any revisions to it.
That's exactly it, Commissioner.
Not really to address this issue with the construction per se, more just whether the existing policy around businesses is we deem that adequate.
Right, and
Okay.
And from a construction-related standpoint, that is something that the Planning Commission, through the planning process, the goal is development services and their planners are able to have required conditions upon those private developers. Typically, they do, where there are streets that are off limits for construction parking. So that's really the avenue for construction. That's private development. It would not be this avenue.
Okay.
May I ask? I didn't quite understand, Abe. Are you asking for our comments concerning this exceptional short-term parking that you were talking about in the residential areas, or are we leaving that aside?
No, that already happened. Council directed us to implement that green curb, and that green curb is already in process of being implemented, so that's already a done deal. The idea of council was, okay, Abe, you have this program that's designed for, let's say there is a coffee shop that needs a 30-minute, 1-hour parking, and everybody around is now parking for 5 hours because for whatever reason, those businesses demand way longer parking occupancy. Now, this business is in trouble because all of the other customers around him are occupying the curb. So our process, our policy designed toward that, we go survey, and if everybody's parking for super long periods of time, we honor that 1-hour request for that specific curb in front of that business or the adjacent business. Now, council's direction was that, okay, this is good. I mean, they didn't say this is good, but they said, okay, we understand how this is designed, but what about these other cases, like this specific case that we are now directing you to do green curb on? So they decided to direct us to do 2-hour parking on that road just to prevent those construction vehicles to come park on that road
So-
as a method of deterring that to happen. But that's not, there's not any provisions for something like that in this.
So, and not to muddy the waters any further, so really take any construction and residential time-limited parking out of the equation. Abe made that reference just because you as commissioners and city residents, you may have seen those instances where it has happened in a residential neighborhood. So that is why he brought it up. But residential streets are not part of this policy. If there is an impacted residential street, we still have an avenue of short-term limited parking, and that would be going to city council.
I move that we adopt the policy that is being presented.
I second it.
Motion passes unanimously.
Amanda, do we have any comments from the public? Any pink slips?
We do. We have one for 9A. And if you don't mind, if I could just ask a clarifying question. For 9A, I have Vijay Barjwat. Is this, there's a question mark, so do you need clarification on?
Pedestrian safety, whichever numbered item it comes under.
Pedestrian safety. 9A is work plan. I think I'm not sure, does that apply to 9A?
So generally speaking, I would say that comment would probably be non-agenda public comment because it is not specific to a single agenda item. Now, with that said, I think the good gentleman can speak on 9A, and I would recommend that we allow him to do public comment for 9A.
Okay, thank you. And then we have 21 speakers for 10A.
10A. Okay. We'll address that as we get further into the agenda. Okay. Let's see. So, agenda item 9, informational items. Mobility and Traffic Safety Commission work plan.
Yes, Chair. This is our commissioned work plan with notes and updates on what has happened and the progress that has been made. Obviously, getting close to the end of the fiscal year. We have 3-4 more meetings left, and then the idea is hopefully we will coordinate with the City Council, but close to the end of the fiscal year, we'll have another joint meeting with the Council, and Commission would be able to present their progress on the work plan items and discuss next fiscal year's work plan. Now, with the progress that we've made on this year's work plan and the big list of items that we had, I don't think there's anything wrong with extending some of those items into the next work plan, or maybe dropping some of them if there's not that much interest in some of those. But the fact that these were blessed by the City Council, I would say let's have these on our radar, and then whatever subcommittees want to work on in the next few months, let's make progress and then present those findings to Council.
Yeah, and I would highly recommend these work plan items were blessed by City Council. City Council does have a level of expectation that commissions are getting through their work plan items. So I would recommend the commissioners to have an emphasis and focus on their work plan items, so long as they are still attributable and make sense for today's day and age. So.
Okay. Let's see. So, for our next meeting, we can go into a little bit more detail on the work plan.
Yeah, Amanda communicates with the subcommittee members in advance of the meeting, usually 2 weeks in advance, to see what progress has been made or if there is any meetings needed, any kind of a reporting. We can have these on agenda, any meeting with any subcommittee providing us any information. Doesn't need to be, a super long, super major progress. Any kind of progress we can be reporting to commission about the subcommittee members' progress.
Yeah, so staff do not have any hand in this work plan. We're just trying to present some status updates for the commissioners. This work plan is owned by the commissioners, so it is the commission's responsibility to judiciously move forward on the work plan to the best of your abilities with your limited time.
With that in mind, I don't know what the process for doing this, but maybe at the next meeting we can get an update from all the different subcommittees on where they are and if there's any particular blockages and information they may be waiting for from anybody,
Yeah.
even
Yeah,
staff.
That's kind of what I was suggesting.
Okay, so how do we go about doing that to agendize this for the next meeting?
I was planning to inform the rest of the commission and staff about the progress on the two programs that I've been working on together with David. I don't quite understand why we want to wait a month. If this is already January, what's the point of waiting a month? If people have anything to contribute now, wouldn't it be better? The reason I'm saying it is because
I guess
part
my
of it will
question is
involve-
that what's the process? If we can do it today, that's fine with me. But
Yeah, no, Ron, if you want to give us an update, because I know you've been working with Commissioner Thiele, it would be good for everyone to hear what you guys have been up to. I don't know if every commissioner is ready to give a report, but why don't you go ahead and give us a little update?
Then I'll do that. On WP2, I've been bicycling a number of the east-west routes, and I've got about 6 different routes that I'm going to suggest. I don't have them completely planned out for this meeting, but I want to let you know. Encinitas is a small town, and our streets are jumbled. There's not a lot of direct routes that are alternatives to main arteries for cyclists, which is what we're referring to here, that are obvious. Some are going to be a little more convoluted. So it's still the best we can do with the city that we have. And I think that they all provide a measure of safety that we don't have on the larger arteries. So that's W2. W9, I'm very excited about. I've been in contact with founder of Cycling Savvy, which is a nationwide organization that provides cycling education of various types. The founder's name is Carrie Caffrey. She happens to be local, and she's provided me, and she provided Mr. Thiele with free subscriptions. I actually have a lifetime subscription to her website, but just for the purpose of reviewing the e-bike for teen course that she's developed. It consists of 21 videos, quizzes during the course. The ones taking those videos, each video is about anywhere between 2 and almost 5 minutes. So not too long, not so long that it's going to exhaust the attention span of the average teen rider. And then at the end, there's a final quiz. And in order to obtain a certificate and have passed, one must pass that quiz. If one pays attention, one will pass. If one doesn't pay attention, I don't think one will pass. So I've done the whole course. I've watched all 21 videos. I've taken the quizzes. I've missed questions. I took the final test, and I passed it. And I think that it's an excellent course. It's cheap. And I think that our city can easily afford it. The courses cost between $12 and $20 a piece. That's the entire course, including the issuing of the certificate, if it's bought in bulk. I think it should be seen by every student in our schools. I'm not sure that everybody else would agree with that. So anyway, we've gotten to the point now. So Carrie has told me that any person who's in a decision-making post in regard to this is entitled to a free subscription. I can arrange that. All I need is the email addresses of those who are interested. But I would like to do that as soon as possible and with the 3 new commissioners so that we could, I'm anticipating putting a vote to this at the next meeting. There, now you have it.
I'll make a brief comment. Thank you, Commissioner Medic. Yeah, I was, by the prompting of Commissioner Medic, I reviewed, I haven't gone through all 21 steps, but just the initial viewing of this, I was very impressed. And a lot of it had to do with kind of common sense, yielding, and kind of making sure of your surroundings. And I think it's very kind of wise to start this way. And what I found is that being a driver, it's kind of for so many years you kind of get used to kind of the unwritten laws of traffic and how you look and you yield, and when you approach a four-way stop, and obviously depending on the age of the kid, or if they're not driving, they don't have the experience, and so if that is kind of reinforced, and that's just one portion of this training, I think it's very helpful. I would suggest that possibly Mobility Manager Buck get involved, and he can view that and kind of reinforce and support this type of education, and maybe he can implement it as well. But I think it would be very helpful.
Okay. Any other updates? Okay, very good. Then, let's see, we'll move on to,
Can we just request that the other subcommittees give us an update at the next meeting? I realize this was sort of short term.
yeah, okay.
Okay.
Excuse me, Chair, do you mind just the public comment on this one?
Sure. And excuse me, man, I apologize. Commissioner Medoc, you had sent us 2 URLs. Did you want us to bring them up quickly for display? So you emailed us the other day?
As a matter of fact, I neglected to ask you to put those up, but maybe you could just put those up for a second, Abe, and people can take a look at this website. Somebody in the audience might find it interesting and want to take a look at that. So the Teen E-Bike Pro Course is a program developed under the Cycling Savvy program. So specifically for teen e-bike riders, but it's very useful for adults as well. Thank you. Oh, there we go. Maybe we can scroll down a little bit there. Rather, a little higher up. So each one of these are going to be a video. When a person goes in there, when they have their subscription, and they go through the videos one at a time. And usually there are quizzes after 1 or 2 or 3 videos, depending. Very simple.
Okay.
Okay, we have 2 public comments now. So we have Vijay Bardwaj, followed by Judy Brofine.
Good evening. My name is Vijay Bharadwaj. I'm a resident in the Via Cantabria Encinitas Boulevard neighborhood. I use the pedestrian crossing across Via Cantabria at Via Montoro almost every day. I've been doing that for the last 5 years. There have been numerous occasions where automobiles that are coming up Via Montoro and turn left onto Via Cantabria ignore the presence of the right-of-way of the pedestrian crossing. I have myself been hit almost multiple times. I raised this concern with the traffic engineering department in December of 21. I have sent emails, telephonic communications, multiple times since then. The last email I received from that department in January of 22, I believe, when I think President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act had a specific funding for pedestrian safety and traffic engineering, that there would be a process to improve traffic signal by adding lead pedestrian interval. I'm presuming that is a method of giving the pedestrian certain time before the automobile gets the green signal to turn. Nothing has happened in 4 years. I beg the Commission to consider pedestrian safety, and somebody is going to get hit and injured. It's just a question of time. Thank you. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Can you just repeat which intersection that was? I didn't touch that.
Say that again.
Can you repeat which intersection it is you're referring to?
Well,
Because I didn't
I'm
catch
referring
that.
to the intersection I use every day, but I would suspect this is true of any pedestrian crossing. The one I'm referring to is the crossing that goes across Via Cantabria at the point that Via Montoro and Via Mabrisa intersected. But it's a generalization. The pedestrian has to be given the right of way when they have the right to cross. You can't have automobiles turning and threatening them, and which is what has happened to me. So, any questions?
Thank you.
Hi, Judy Burlfine. I applaud any bike education, and I looked at that Cycling Savvy, and it looks really good. I like the videos. I like the quizzes. I want to make sure that any bike education we have is not all solely on computers, and that we supplement it with on the bike training, just like when you learn to drive, you have in the car training. And for those who don't know, we no longer have a mobility manager in the city, so I'm not sure who would be following up on this, but thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, let's see, 9B, Safety and Mobility Projects Update.
Yes, Chair, this is our monthly update for the commission. We usually don't go over the list. We just leave it open, and if any commissioner has any question about a project, I'll provide.
Yeah, Abe, just in response to the first, well, two speakers ago, we just heard about the intersection, his concerns about the pedestrian. The lead pedestrian interval citywide, maybe just for the benefit of him and the others about
Sure.
what that is, really briefly. I know we've talked about it a lot.
The lead pedestrian interval, which, as correctly mentioned by the gentleman, does allow between 3 to 6 seconds of advanced green for the pedestrian to enter the crosswalk. However, at that intersection, I'm 90% sure it was recently implemented. There are still intersections that the LPI hasn't been implemented. The project is complete. We have the software and hardware capability of implementing it. There are other technical reasons that we've decided to delay LPI for those intersections. There are some that don't yet have LPI. I don't want to go deep into why, but it's more about corridor optimization that we haven't yet added LPI there. But the majority of our intersections do have LPI now. The problem with that specific intersection or some other intersections like that is that LPI applies to both sides of the crossing. So let's say vehicles coming out of Via Montoro want to turn left onto Via Cantabria. Now the LPI does go in effect and does give the pedestrian at the corner of Via Montoro and Via Cantabria the extra 3 seconds. The pedestrian would go in crossing, but by the time they get to the other side of Via Cantabria, that's when the Via Montoro vehicle starts turning left, and that LPI doesn't necessarily help them because they got the 4 seconds they entered, but by the time they get to the other side of Via Montoro, Via Montoro. Via Cantabria, Via Montoro has its green and vehicles are now. That's more to the driver. That especially applies to most T intersections. The driver has to be cognizant when they have a green left, if a pedestrian is in conflict. There are rare in the city where cases where we don't have a protected left or a left turn goes onto a pedestrian, but that's our basically, driving license training. Like when you're turning left, if there's a possibility for a pedestrian to be in that crosswalk, we have to be careful. So there's not a protected pedestrian crossing per se.
As things stand today, when the pedestrian crossing allows the pedestrian to cross, the automobile can turn left. The light turns green. There is no interval. We may be intending that, but it doesn't exist.
Okay,
I can look into that to see what's.
thank you. Okay, any other comments?
I have a comment. Thanks, Abe. What section or what is the progress, if any, or maybe the piece of roadway I'm talking about, El Camino Real with the protected bikeway? What section are you referring to on this project list, or is it completed? I know there's mention of Caltrans, so that's getting close to the freeway, in and around the freeway?
No, this is a different section. This is north of Santa Fe intersection. This is El Camino Real north of Santa Fe. I believe it's between Santa Fe and north of.
Yeah, it's between the segments of Avenida de los Adolescentes and Willow Spring Drive. Now, this is a HSIP grant project. So the scope of that grant project, and this has been accepted by council to move forward, is having protected bike lanes on both the southbound and northbound direction of El Camino Real. And by protected, we mean there will be flexi posts installed, as well as intersection improvements for the Santa Fe Drive, El Camino Real intersection. So that is early on in the design phase. We just were awarded that grant, and I think about 3 months ago or 4 months ago. So we should be moving forward through design and construction in the next year or so.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing that. And to the next project on Encinitas Boulevard, where is that, and what phase are we in on that one?
I mean, that's a similar situation. We were recently awarded, council blessed the design, similar use of flexible posts with maximize the spacing of those flexible posts. This is east of the freeway, all the way to Ballure and Via Cantabria area. So we want to stretch the project as far as possible, yeah.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
These were the projects we discussed a couple of months ago, aren't they?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I had a question, but first, Amanda, on my screen, and I think everybody's, is stuck on voting in progress. We're not able to scroll through the documents. Is there a problem, or?
I'll go check.
Okay, thank you. Because the writing on the other screen is pretty tiny.
Let me switch.
For me.
See if anything changes. Is this what you see?
So I did
Did
have a
it change
question
or no?
for you.
Still?
I was looking, I wanted to mention, by the way, I suppose it's a typo, but the date initiated on the HSIPs, that was not winter 2026. I think they were initiated in spring of 2025. Is that correct? Or am I wrong?
Well, I guess it depends, like what we call it. Like the council discussed them, I think, in winter, but it hasn't been initiated. Like we haven't started formal design yet. So,
But it says winter 2026 in any event. I mean, this is 2026, right?
And so, and Commissioner Maddock, we have initiated these projects as of the last couple months. So winter 2025, winter 2026, you know, we always get a little, that terminology can be a little confusing.
Okay.
But the intent is early 2026
Okay.
is initiated. And-
Great.
and-
Then the question I had, I didn't see, unless it's here somewhere that I don't see it, is the HSIP 12 new design for the South Beach 101.
You're saying it's not here?
Well, I'm saying where is it, because I don't quite see it.
There's two. One is the crossing at the border of Solana Beach, and the other one is the walkway on the south. So the grant language is the walkway, which that walkway leads to the redesign. So the way the grant was awarded was for building a walkway. The grant was not for redesigning the cross-section of the roadway. So we mentioned the name of the grant in here, but the one that you're referring to that would lead to a potential redesign of the cycle track, that's the walkway on South 101.
Okay, so the only screen that I'm being given here, I really can't see anything more than project list and updates. So it's really hard for me to tell which project list we're referring to. So are we, and it doesn't look to me like we're only referring to grants, or maybe we are. Is this only referring to grants? Why aren't those other projects listed, is my question.
I'm confused as what you mean by other projects. You mean the redesign?
Correct, the redesign
So that
of South
is-
Beach 101, yeah.
That is this HCIP project. So the HCIP project that gave us $2 million, well, we haven't spent it, but gave us $2 million, that was for building a walkway. The way the city was successful in securing that grant was to applying for Caltrans to allow building that walkway. Now, to build that walkway, that would lead us to realigning the road to open up that space for that walkway. When we have to redesign the road to open up that 5 feet, 4 feet we need for that walkway, that was the opportunity to redesign the cycle track. So these are not two separate projects. It's basically the same project.
So this is the same project. This includes the redesign of the cycle track in the placement of a Class 2 cycle lane on the east side.
Correct.
The elimination of the cycle track on the east side. All of that. That's all part of this.
That's all this
Very
project.
good. Okay, that wasn't clear to me when I read through it, but that explains it. Great. Then I'll ask one more question. What about the project that we discussed with the restriping? I think it was going to be restriping on Leucadia Boulevard and the removal of the bollards there. Does that fall on this list, or is that separate?
I believe that has happened already, or is in the bid package?
So this project was recommended for the project that you speak of. That's the fiscal year 26 pavement rehabilitation project. That's done by our capital improvement division within the engineering department. That was blessed by commission, recommended with a couple modifications. Then it was taken to council with those recommendations in place. We are currently out advertising that project for construction right now. So we anticipate that we'll be going to council to request award of that construction contract in about a month and a half. And hopefully construction will begin in about 2.5 months or so. And that does include Deputy Mayor O'Hara's request of removal of the flexi posts within the segment of Leucadia Boulevard from I-5 to Saxony Drive.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, let's see, on to agenda item number 10. This is a commission member initiated agenda item. I believe this kind of evolved from the subcommittee, if I'm correct. And this is, yeah, okay. So do you want to go into a little bit more detail about it?
And I'm presuming this is where we have a lot of speakers on this topic? Yes. Yeah.
Do you see it now on your screen?
Yeah, I see it here on this one. Yeah.
I had just a question about process here. Did we discuss at the last meeting, I guess there's this whole process of agendizing things, which I guess I'm still a little confused about. So I know for the e-bike thing that hopefully we'll talk about at some point tonight, we're going to just talk about agendizing it tonight, and then we'll actually discuss the topic at the next meeting. did we discuss agendizing this at the last meeting, this particular topic about the stoplights? And maybe we did, and I just don't remember.
This item was agendized at the previous meeting.
Okay.
And was just continued to this meeting.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for the explanation.
Okay, so we can get public comment first, or do you want to?
I'll take 2 seconds just to
okay.
kind of set the
Overview.
current, because it's, we did change the project.
Yeah, and typically, Commission, you do your report first, and then you seek public comment thereafter.
Okay. So this was a subcommittee with Commissioner Dave Thiele and Jim Gross, who is termed out. So I'll just represent Jim as well. We did some work on this, but just to kind of set the tone initially, we were looking at AB 645, right? That was the state issue that was going to allow speed cameras. And there were pilot cities in the state that were doing the speed cameras. And we started this out as that agenda item or that project. We did discuss it here a couple times, and we decided upon hearing about or learning about SB 720, which was a revised red light camera program that, in our opinion, addressed most, if not all, of the major concerns that people had with the previous red light camera programs. So we felt that this was more appropriate for the city than pursuing the speeding cameras under AB 645. So now this is kind of a pivot to SB 720. And so we have now put forth the recommendation to put this before the council and for the city to look at identifying the proper intersections and everything else that would go along with implementing these red light cameras under the new program, SB 720.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I just want to follow up with Commissioner Duncan, and I think yeah, we're gaining momentum with this Senate bill, and in my view, there's two things that have shifted, and that is the reduction in the fine and the penalty from criminal to civil, and also how the liability is distributed. So, and there won't be any pictures of the individual that's driving, and it'll be based on license plate registered owner of the car. And so I think that's a big shift. And so we're confident to present this to council and mayor.
And I'm sorry, one more item too. So among all the other elements of this that made it more palatable, I actually want to tie it to, what did I just note here, on Work Plan 4 as part of our updating, but Work Plan 4 had an element of funding safety projects. Our Work Plan 5, which is now the red light camera under SB 720, the monies collected from those fines and violations is to go towards city safety programs. So this would actually impact Work Plan 4 most directly, and I would just actually want to roll that under this as well for our accountability to Work Plan 4. Thank you.
Okay, are there more comments from commissioners?
Oh, well, just some questions, I guess. So we're specifically not talking about locations in this. Does it mean we can just kind of put them in? How do we decide on that, or we're just going to leave that up to the council to decide?
Yeah, I would leave it up to the city, traffic engineering, study the different intersections that most warrant it, whether it be based on the ones that have had the highest red light issues.
Okay.
Yeah, we do not have that recommendation as to specific intersections.
Okay, and why not? Just because you don't think that you have the specific technical knowledge to make that recommendation, or is that the reason?
Yeah, I've got intersections I would recommend, but it's based on pure non-professional perspective, so I will leave it to the pros. Yeah.
Okay. And then the other one, and I know I got this handout before the meeting, and I was going to ask about this in any case. So specifically, I guess the bill coming from Sacramento talks about protecting the data. Can you just maybe just elaborate, maybe for my own education, how that? I know that's a concern to a lot of people right now, and there was, of course, a big article in the Union Tribune a couple of months ago about Flock. So how are we going to make sure this data doesn't proliferate? Basically,
Point of order. Are we supposed to have this discussion at this point, or are we supposed to have comments first and then have this discussion?
I don't know.
Well,
I'm asking the chair.
Our city engineer suggested that we present it first, so that's what I thought we were doing.
So
Okay.
Chair Trouth,
Yeah.
my apologies for the confusion. So typical standard practice is a report will be read. After that report, then it would be public comment, and once public comment is completed, then it would be deliberation by the commission.
Okay, and my apologies. I skipped a step here. So yeah, let's go ahead with the public comment first.
Very good.
My apologies.
And just an update on the tech, can you scroll and use your mouse that way instead of, you should have a mouse behind? No, you still can't? Okay, so sounds like there's,
It's not responding. I mean, nothing happens.
yeah, so there's something wrong with the tech, actually. Sorry about that. I am in contact with our IT team, but no solution quite yet. Go ahead and go on to, okay. So we have 5 speakers, 5 residents who wanted to register their support of the recommended action but didn't want to speak. So that is Elizabeth Lawlor, Katie Magnuson, Paula Toro, Kendall Smith, and Corey Smith. And then I believe we have 20 speakers now. Oh, no, I'm sorry. And also Abigail Brown, who did not wish to speak but did want to register her support. Our
Okay.
first speaker is Rihanna Glore, followed by Leslie Engel, and then it will be Lee Ratcliffe.
Hi, my name is Rihanna Glore. I have a statement to read from Claire Champlain, Brody's mom. Brody was a 15-year-old SDA student who was hit and killed by a vehicle while riding his bike on El Camino Real in 2023. I, Claire Champlain, Brody's mom, support the use of red light cameras as part of a broader, evidence-based approach to improving traffic safety, particularly at high-risk intersections. When these tools are implemented transparently, ethically, and with appropriate oversight, they can encourage driver attentiveness, accountability, and help reduce dangerous driving behaviors. Red light cameras have the potential to protect our countless pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers in our community. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I'm here tonight to ask that the city take action and install red light cameras at the 2 intersections that are very troublesome, Encinitas Boulevard and El Camino, and Lucchetti Boulevard and El Camino. There are, however, many more intersections that would be greatly affected positively with the installation of these red light cameras, particularly at I-5 exit at Manchester and at the I-5 entrance at Manchester. I can't tell you how many times I've watched sometimes 4 and 5 cars blatantly run red lights at both of these intersections multiple times a week. The city must take action to keep our residents safe. The tragic deaths and near misses, including children and adults, deeply concerns me. I've lived in Cardiff for 35 years, and as a cyclist and runner, I'm increasingly fearful. Our streets have become dangerously fast, speed limits blatantly violated, with drivers regularly exceeding speed limits up to 30 miles an hour or more over the limit, especially on Manchester and El Camino Real. The city did respond to lowering the speed limit on Manchester, thank you,
as well as installing speed feedback signs, and I and my neighbors thank you. However, we need regular sheriff's patrols to hit the message home to those drivers who don't seem to care. How many more people have to get hurt or lose their lives in order for the city council and the commission to change the trajectory of our town from an automobile-centric to a pedestrian-centric community? Thank you.
And Chair, we actually have quite a few more residents who wanted to register their support but didn't want to speak, so I just wanted to read those. We have Sierra Tsor, Shane Laughlin, Chad Laughlin, Jessica Laughlin, Claire Laughlin, Dana Neebs, and Elaine Noveski.
Can you just tell me how many that?
How many more?
Yeah, 7. Okay.
Thank you.
And does that include the emails that we received earlier today?
That's separate.
Separate, okay.
Okay. And then next we have Laura Van Dusen, followed by Lara Grimmer, and then Mike Dobransky.
Did the PowerPoint come through? Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Laura Van Dusen, and I'm a founding member of Safe Streets Encinitas. We are parents, neighbors, and concerned Encinitas residents who felt compelled to get involved after the tragic death of 12-year-old Emery Chalakian on April 25th, 2025 at 6:50 p.m. We also advocate in honor of all of those in Encinitas who have lost their lives to traffic violence, to preventable traffic violence, including 66-year-old Emily Hernandez, 45-year-old Marcos Perez Domingo, and the many others whose names may not be widely known, but whose lives mattered just as deeply. Every one of these deaths represents a failure of our system and a call to do better. Our community has shown up tirelessly, yet in the 9 months since Emery's death, we have not seen a single action item to improve street safety from this commission to the City Council. We've heard many of you acknowledge the community's concerns and say that action is needed. Today, we respectfully ask that you advocate for safer streets by recommending red light cameras to City Council. This mitigation has been shown to decrease dangerous crashes and change driver behavior, both in our city and nationwide. However, our city's red light program was terminated in 2020 after several issues arose with red light camera problems. Now, with the passing of Senate Bill SB 720, red light camera programs have a new improved structure that resolves failings from previous programs. Safe Streets Encinitas has done extensive work and research on the effects of red light cameras and on the contents of Senate Bill 720. My fellow members will now share additional perspectives and data on why this recommendation matters. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lara Grimmer, and I'm a founding member of Safe Streets Encinitas. Bear with me, I'm not sure. Okay. From 2004 through 2020, the city of Encinitas utilized red light cameras at the 2 intersections shown here, El Camino Real and Encinitas Boulevard, and El Camino Real and Lucadia Boulevard. The safety results were encouraging. A staff report from August 2018 shared the following data. As you can see, there was an approximate 40% accident reduction. 80% of tickets were issued to non-residents, and 99% of tickets were issued to first-time violators. In 2020, the City Council voted to end the program amid strong public criticisms. On April 25th, 2025, Emery Chalakian was killed by a driver who was both speeding and ran a red light. The painful truth is that Emery might be alive today if red light cameras were still functioning. On January 1st, 2026, Senate Bill 720 went into effect. Safe Streets Encinitas has reviewed the bill, met with its authors, and discussed the new program structure with red light camera vendors. We wanted to make sure this bill addressed the concerns of our community before advocating for a new red light camera program in Encinitas. Does Senate Bill 720 address the concerns of our community? Yes, it does. As shown on the slide, it is now against the law to shorten yellow light intervals. Tickets will be civil penalties as opposed to criminal. So they're like a parking ticket, excuse me. Fines start at $100 and get more expensive for repeat offenders. Vendors can't be incentivized to write more tickets. And paper ticket programs are not allowed. And as for the cities, money is first used to pay for the program, and any additional money is used for improvements to street safety within Encinitas. Before beginning a red light camera program, Senate Bill 720 requires an impact report, which must be developed in collaboration with relevant local stakeholders. It must be made available for public review at least 30 days prior to adoption, ensuring transparency and giving the community a voice in the process. SB 720 also requires the city to prepare an annual report that must include information such as the number of citations issued, types of violations, and number of traffic collisions before and after installation of the cameras. This means we will have real data regarding whether the system works. Safe Streets Encinitas will be there to make sure all of these things are accomplished and shared with our community. Thank you.
Next, we have Mike Dobransky, followed by Lee Ratcliffe and Bridget Chalakian.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Mike Dobransky with Safe Streets Encinitas. Many cities have installed red light camera programs over the years, some with more success than others. This leads to the obvious question. What makes some programs succeed and others fail? And what does a winning red light camera program actually look like? New York City in 2024 published their red light camera report, which highlighted 4 really important outcomes. Number 1, fewer crashes at camera-equipped intersections. Number 2, fewer rear-end collisions, which is one of the most common concerns about red light cameras. Will they create more collisions? Number 3, community support of the program. And number 4, the number of citations issued over time decreased. All of these outcomes are achievable. They're all outcomes we can strive for, we can learn from, and these can be our blueprint for our program. The goal is not more tickets issued, it's behavior change. Fewer tickets actually mean safer streets. In fact, in New York, they appreciate their program so much, they're going to expand it from 150 intersections to 1,300 by 2030. So if we know what success looks like, we also need to be a little bit honest about what happened with our program previously. There were objections, and legitimate ones, but the biggest objections weren't actually about the safety outcomes. They were about trust. They were about concerns about the cost of the tickets, the integrity of the vendor, the lack of transparency around whether or not we're actually seeing improving safety. And so when you contrast these complaints with the program like New York City and you read through SB 720, you can see that there's a through line to map our own success. Most of it has to do with transparency, trust, and the willingness to move towards safety at all times. SB 720 requires transparency in how cameras are located. There's a process that outlines developing an impact report and getting relevant stakeholders involved. There's also a process outlined for sharing results with the public ongoing. And with this data, the community can be confident that we're going in the right direction. If the data doesn't show that we're improving safety, we should adjust accordingly. That's how constant, never-ending improvement works. This is a new framework. It's not the same old red light camera program that we had in the past. And we look forward to seeing results. Thank you, guys.
Hi, good evening. I'm Lee Ratcliffe, and I'm a founding member of Safe Streets Encinitas. Okay, one of the biggest objections we hear about red light cameras, and probably the most challenging to address, is the concern about living in a surveillance state. So I want to be very clear about this, that red light cameras are not Flock. For those who may not be familiar, Flock is a private company that provides automated license plate reader systems to cities, neighborhoods, and private communities. These cameras are designed to continuously scan and record license plates and vehicle information, with that data stored in a centralized system. What makes Flock different is that this data can be shared across agencies and jurisdictions and accessed by law enforcement for a wide range of purposes, not just one specific traffic violation at one specific intersection. In other words, it creates a broad, ongoing record of vehicle movement over time. Red light cameras under Senate Bill 720 work very differently. They are narrow, purpose-built, and limited to one function, enforcing red light violations at designated intersections. They do not track vehicles across the city, and they do not share data with other agencies. So when people worry about a surveillance state, it's important to understand that red light cameras are not Flock. What's critical here is that red light cameras operate in a closed loop. The city retains 100% ownership of the data. No one else can access it, including law enforcement at any level. In addition, there are strict rules on how long data can be retained, and facial recognition programs are not allowed. Those systems are designed for broad monitoring and data sharing. Red light cameras under SB 20 are not. They are far more limited, far more regulated, and far less intrusive when it comes to privacy. At the end of the day, our goal here is simple: safety. If we design this program carefully with strong safeguards, transparency, and the right vendor, we can improve safety without creating a surveillance system. We can do it in a way that the community can trust. Thank you for your time. Oh, good.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Bridget Chalakian, and I'm here today as a mother, a resident, and a voice for my daughter, Emery. Last April, Emery was killed by a commuter who ran a red light while she was walking in a marked crosswalk on a green signal. She did everything right. She followed the law. She trusted the system that is supposed to protect pedestrians, and that system failed her. I'm here to urge you to support the installation of red light cameras. This is a proven immediate step that will protect lives on our streets. We have data from our very own city proving that red light cameras work. You've already seen the statistics that were shared, but it's clear that these cameras change driver behavior, and that is what we need. When the cameras were removed in 2020, there wasn't enough enforcement on our streets, and the result was more speeding, more red light running, less accountability, and more dangerous streets. We already know this works. This is a simple, automated, proven way to reduce collisions, injuries, and deaths, especially when we don't have the police presence to enforce every intersection currently. And let's not forget our roads are about to get much busier with the thousands of new residents expected soon. This is exactly where automated traffic safety belongs. Red light running is a problem. Our intersections are dangerous. You have the opportunity to take a major step toward traffic safety in our city that is limited in enforcement and about to face a surge in new pressure on our roads. Let's install the cameras, protect our intersections, prevent the next family from standing where I stand today. Thank you for listening.
Our next speaker is Caitlin Despain, followed by Judy Burlfine, and then Steve Linke with a time donation by Scott Campbell. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I missed this one. Caitlin Despain did want to register her support but did not wish to speak. So then I have Judy Burlfine next, please, and Steve Linke following, and then Stacy Reddle.
I'm Judy Burlfine. I want to say thank you to Safe Streets. They so clearly articulated all of the different points relating to red light cameras. So I also want to say thank you to our deputies and our law enforcement who do a stellar job of trying to prevent people from running red lights. But we have a lot of intersections with signals in this city, and we have one or two deputies, and they can't be everywhere all the time. So this is a way that we can take advantage of the technology that we have and build on the hard work that the deputies do. There are experts out there who wrote this law. If the city council or you need to hear from them in addition to what you've heard today, I highly encourage you to bring them in to speak. And lastly, I want to talk a little bit about leadership. You guys are in a difficult position, and I'm always the first to defend our city council and our commissioners. Things take time. That's what democracy is about, is getting input, listening to stakeholders, and things move slowly. But at a certain point, we have to take action. And it's been almost a year since Emery died. And I think there's been delay, there's been stalling. I'm not incriminating any of you, but I think the way the whole process is moving is way too slowly. And if there's one thing we can do, as Bridget just said, to prevent someone else from being in her shoes, this is a great option. And I encourage you to encourage our city council to take swift action. And lastly, there's so much bad feeling from the last red light cameras that you say the word and people just, say, no, I don't want that. I think it's very, very important to talk about how different this plan is from the previous plan. When I talked to one of the authors, he said that's the first thing I always say is this is a completely different approach to red light cameras. We learned what some of the problems are, and we've used this opportunity to learn from our mistakes and move forward. So this is not what it used to be. This is something totally new. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Steve Linke. I'm a former Carlsbad traffic commissioner. Some colleagues and I have developed a system to relatively easily conduct collision studies, which I have done for the red light cameras that were formerly installed in Encinitas. I went into the study thinking that the data would be too sparse and too similar with and without the cameras to reach any conclusions, but the results were a bit surprising. And I'll focus exclusively on data and not the sort of emotional and legal aspects. The studied intersections included the two that had red light camera systems, shown with the red dots, the intersections of El Camino Real with Encinitas Boulevard and with Lucadia Boulevard. Two control intersections that never had red light cameras were also studied, shown with the purple dots, the intersections of Garden View Road with Lucadia Boulevard and with El Camino Real. The cameras were removed from service as of May 2020, and collision data is currently available in the state database through August of 2024, which is a 52-month period. So the study compares equal 52-month time windows from January 2016 through April 2020 with the cameras, and May of 2020 through August 2024 without the cameras. Of course, no cameras were present in the control intersections in either of the before or after time period. Collisions within 50 feet of the intersections were included. So first, let's look at total collisions. All of the blue bars here are in the with cameras period, and all of the orange bars are in the after camera removal period. The first set of bars is for El Camino Real and Encinitas Boulevard intersection, showing that total collisions decreased from 13 with the cameras to 7 after removal. The second set of bars is for El Camino Real Lucadia Boulevard intersection, showing that total collisions decreased from 18 with the cameras to 9 after removal. So total collisions at both intersections were about cut in half after removal of the cameras. In contrast, total collisions were relatively stable at the control intersections, suggesting that the decreases at the former red light intersections were not simply due to general changes in traffic between the two time periods. Now let's look at injuries. These graphs combine the data from the two red light camera intersections. The blue bars again show that the total collisions decreased from 31 with the cameras to 16 after their removal. And the orange bars show that the total injuries decreased from 24 with the cameras to 15 after removal. These graphs drill a bit deeper to separately show data from broadside and rear end type collisions. One of the main marketing points of red light camera enforcement is a potential reduction in dangerous broadside collisions. However, broadside collisions remain virtually unchanged after removal of the cameras, and injured persons actually decrease somewhat of that broadside type. Frequent downside observed with red light cameras is increased rear end collisions due to drivers stopping more suddenly. Consistent with that, rear end collisions decreased from 13 with the cameras to just 4 after removal, and the injured persons also decreased. Now, this table digs even deeper to show injury severity with the 4 standardized categories. Complaint of pain injuries remained about the same with and without the cameras. However, visible injuries were about cut in half after camera removal, from 20 to 11. Only one of the 29 injuries was severe, and it was after the camera removal. However, that was a very unique situation in that the traffic signal was non-operational. And finally, I think one of the main concerns is for the safety of the more vulnerable pedestrian and bicyclist users. With the cameras, 3 bicyclists had visible injuries, and after camera removal, there was 1 pedestrian with a visible injury and 1 bicyclist with a complaint of pain. So if anything, injury severity decreased after camera removal. So in conclusion, here is a summary of some of the observed trends after removal of the red light cameras. Collisions decreased 48%, injured persons decreased 38%, broadside collisions did not go up, and injuries actually decreased. Rear end collisions decreased 59%, and injuries also decreased. And injury severity decreased both overall and among pedestrians and bicyclists. And I want to say that I'm probably not saying things that are particularly popular in this room, and I respect all the efforts and those advocating for the safety measures. That said, there's been a great deal of debate about the efficacy and cost effectiveness of red light cameras, and the vast majority of communities have removed them, including Encinitas. And the numbers of events in this study is somewhat low, but the data is pretty compelling. And so I would encourage maybe alternative methods for improving safety that have a better chance of working in Encinitas. Thank you.
Next, we have Stacy Reddle, followed by Aaron Hebsche, and then Brad Lefkowitz.
Hi, Stacy Riddell. I'm here on 2 fronts. One, I am the executive director for Lucadia 101 Main Street Association, and my board of directors has instructed me to support the red light cameras. We have been working with Safe Streets Encinitas and looking at the data and the research, and I think at this time, right now, what we're looking for is a change in behavior. And unfortunately, we've all been driving in this town for a very long time. And I think we can all recognize that behavior has gotten very bad on our roadways well after these cameras have been turned off. So I think why I'm here is to support the effort to give another try to something that has proven to work in many communities. Carlsbad's had theirs on, and they still do, and they haven't turned theirs off, and they seem to be working just fine. So we can look to many communities that see the benefit of red light cameras in giving a behavior change, especially for people that are coming through our community at high speeds and not paying attention to the fact that this is a community of people with children on bikes and pedestrians in crosswalks being killed when they're doing absolutely the right thing. So for us as a community, it's an opportunity to try something that does work in many, many other communities, and we support that as an organization, and I support that as a mom of a 12 and a 15-year-old daughter in this community as well. So thank you for your time, and I really hope you guys consider moving this to City Council.
Good evening. Aaron Hebsche, Leucadia District 1. I want to show my support for red light cameras. I think automated enforcement can go a long way to assisting the patrols that our sheriff department has been surging, especially right after the last tragedy of Emory. But we need more than the surges. We need automated enforcement. I'm a little bit dismayed that AB 645 was tabled. I hope that you guys don't give up on that in the long term, but I am glad that you're taking up AB 720 and red light cameras as well. I am curious about how the data that Steve Linke just presented, how that conflicts with the city's own data, and it'd be interesting for you guys to do a little deeper dive on that. Are there particular aspects of the timing of when maybe a pulse of accidents happened right after COVID or something, but when red light cameras were still active, that may have skewed the data that make it so different in Steve's presentation than everybody else's. So maybe dig a little bit into that. I also want to just do one last pitch that I haven't heard yet about the value of automated enforcement. We know, especially during the George Floyd era, that traffic stops by sheriffs and police disproportionately affect people of color. Automated enforcement is less biased because it is more objective. So just in the interest of fairness and social justice, we think that that is a really strong tool to add to our arsenal for getting safe streets. All right, thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. Brad Lefkowitz. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I had some concerns about the data that was shared earlier from the gentleman from Carlsbad. He listed his qualifications as being a commissioner, and no disrespect to you all, but I believe if he was a traffic professional, he would have said so. I appreciated the comment you made earlier about leaving it to the professionals. You referenced data compiled by him and his colleagues. I assume if his colleagues were traffic professionals, he would have said that as well. In terms of the data, I noticed it changed over right in between April and May of 2020. So obviously that was a time when vehicle patterns changed significantly for quite a while. So I just wanted to call that into question. I would prefer people making decisions of this importance would refer to our professionals for the data. I'm curious if Abe might have anything to support any of the assertions that have been made. And lastly, in terms of the data referenced by the gentleman from Carlsbad from years prior, that was a different red light program. And has been pointed out, this is a new program. So thank you.
That concludes public speakers.
Okay, thank you. Do we have some additional comments from the commissioners?
I do. I have a few. Just to respond to begin with, I have a number of points I'd like to make, and they're a little bit disparate, so I apologize for possibly a lack of organization, but it's a difficult subject. I wanted to let Mr. Hebsche, I think, was speaking, know that I did review the reports in April, I believe it was, 2018, by Mr. Bandigan and his colleague. Those reports only reported percentage differences with the use of the red light cameras program at that time. And so I requested the raw data. And unfortunately, city staff could not provide me with any raw data. but they did initiate a Freedom of Information Act request from the Archive Department, and they could not provide any raw data. So the only data on record are percentages. Nobody has any raw data. It's very hard for me, at least, to give much credit to that, because I've seen people either make mistakes or deliberately change things in the past in our city. So I'm just letting you know that an effort was made by one of the commissioners at least to get that raw data, but I wasn't able to get it. I do want to say that I think everybody on this commission is extremely interested in safety and safety in our streets. It was a very terrible tragedy that occurred here. It occurred very close to where I live, right where my son and his family live, and we all felt that deeply. I think everybody here wants to do things that can improve safety, but I know that we have differences of opinions of how to do that on this commission. So I went into the article that was referenced in Commissioner Duncan's proposal, and it was from the Institute of Highway Insurance, and the researcher that wrote the article was a woman by the name of Wen Hu. And she made the point that her article was written in 2017, and I'm just going to quote from that article. In results, she mentioned, quote, increases in rates of fatal red light running crashes, 18%, and of all fatal crashes at signalized intersections, 8%, in all 19 cities that turned cameras off were not significant. So in plain language, and then she went on to say that her data from there was a meta-analysis that she provided. A meta-analysis, if anybody doesn't know what that is where you look at a collection of studies, throw out the studies that you don't think are relevant, and then use the other studies and then be able to come up with some sort of answer to the question you have. So she did say that she felt that her study provided some help, but it was by no means conclusive. And I'm bringing that up because I think it's an example of the situation that we're in. I don't think the red light cameras have been studied conclusively, and I think it varies from community to community. I personally don't think that a New York traffic situation is very applicable to Encinitas. I think the data that Mr. Linke provided is much more applicable. Which brings me to the next point, which is, for anybody that's read 720, AB 720, a lot of people talked about it as if it was a good thing that the fines were $100 for running a red light. If you read AB 720, they go further. If you're considered indigent, and there are 8 different ways to be considered an indigent, and in that law, every single one of those, you only need one, you're indigent. One of those is Medi-Cal. If you're on Medi-Cal, then you're indigent by their definition. In California today, 35% of the people living here are on Medi-Cal. So we have a minimum number of indigent of 35%, and it goes up from there. If you're indigent, you only pay 20% of $100. So if you run a red light, you pay $20. What kind of behavior modification do you think that is? To me, that's encouragement. And I can't imagine that anybody would think that that's a good idea. So I think I'll stop at that point, but I just think this is a very important matter, and I think it should be approached in a very scientific kind of way. Oh, there was one more thing I wanted to say. There is another way to approach a crash like this, rather than just throwing out a solution that may or may not be effective. And it's called root cause analysis. So one looks at the crash and one determines in a scientific way, as well as you can, how did that crash occur and what can be done to prevent it in the future. Now, I've been in favor of having a root cause analysis of this crash from the very beginning But everybody in this commission has been cautioned by city attorney that because there was a lawsuit initiated against the city, it would be we shouldn't be discussing that. But people have brought up tonight that it's been a long time, and I agree with that. And unfortunately, the problem that we have now is there are not only civil suits, but our district attorney is initiating criminal suits in all of these cases. So all of that data is being shielded from the public. And it makes it very difficult to do a root cause analysis under those conditions. And that's why you haven't seen any action. I just want to make sure that people understand that. But I'm going to speculate, and it's only based on the speculation by the fact that I'm a citizen who lives in Olevenhain. I either ride my bike down Encinitas Boulevard or drive it almost every single day, right past Village Square Drive, all the time. And I can tell you that on April 25th last year, at 6:51 p.m., that was about, the sun was setting at 7:26. When you're going west on Encinitas Boulevard, the hill goes up very steeply, up to Canterbury, I believe.
Shame on you. The moment's right here. Shame on you.
I'm just saying that there was sun setting directly down that street at that time.
Okay. Can you wrap up what you're saying, please?
I think that it would be a good idea to consider ways to be able to make that intersection safer. I'm not sure that the red light cameras, especially under this program, are the way to go. That's it.
Okay. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, I guess so. You know, I think, you know, this is a situation where I think people are demanding action, some kind of action here. And I imagine there will be action. But I do tend to agree with Ron in the sense that it's not clear to me the red light cameras are really going to make people, they may make people feel safer, but I'm not sure it's really going to increase safety. But obviously, I think we all see the activities. I go through that particular intersection all the time myself, and I also see people turning on red arrows and things like that. And so I understand the frustration people have. But I just, you know, and I'm not sure whether I'll vote in favor of this or not, but I'm just caution people that I don't think this is really going to solve the problem. And leave it at that.
Thank you. Okay. Can we,
Commissioner Johnson here. The city has signed on to Vision Zero, which means that the city wants to not have fatalities. And when we've had tragedies like this, some action, some change is necessary. I favored the original red light camera program, and I think this one is perhaps a gentler one, but still we need to do something. And I think this is the first thing we can do. There are many other things. The big problem is speed, obviously, and drivers who are not paying attention to what they're doing. And I don't have any cure for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to sum up a couple things real quick. Thank you to all the residents, especially Safe Streets Encinitas, an organization obviously created in light of this incident. And everything that's been put into this report, two simple things I want to say, for us to do our job up here. In Mr. Linke's presentation, I didn't see one source of data for any of that stuff. I prepare reports. I get filleted. if I put a report like that in front of anybody and I don't have every source of my data listed right there. And Ron, you seem to like that report better than all of these other stats.
It was based on the California crash reporting system.
Didn't say that, so anyways.
It was.
And you also said paying $20 is encouragement. I don't know why paying $20 would be an encouragement for people to run a red light, but that's what you said. So anyways, I apologize to the folks here for any interpreted callousness or anything, because I think this is something we need to address. If anybody can come up with a better idea at specific intersections where we know there's a problem, I'd love to hear it. We've been talking about this long enough. I do have some ideas I'm gonna bring to the group later, flags and different things that I've seen in other cities now or at crossings. But for now, I think this is the best we can do. And I'm sorry if it's going to cost the city a little bit of money. I don't know what the source of your guys' resistance is. If it's a budgetary issue, if it's too much work for some city staffers. But that's what the city's here to do, is for the citizens. So I don't care if it costs too much money or if it's going to take up too much resources. I think this is something we've heard loud and clear that the city wants. So I want us to go ahead and move to vote for this.
Okay, can we formalize it into a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move to motion this.
I second.
Well, it's just for maybe Amanda's use. What actually is the motion that you're proposing?
To put this forth to the city council to review this policy, the implementation of red light cameras and the work by the professionals that is necessary to determine the best intersections for these lights, or these cameras.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so motion to recommend to City Council by Commissioner Duncan, and the second by Commissioner Thiele. Motion passes.
Okay,
May I be permitted to make a comment?
absolutely.
Okay, I'd like to thank all the citizens who showed up for this. Wear those yellow shirts to the city council meetings when this gets on their agenda, and let them know what the community wants.
Okay, we're on to agenda item 11. And Commissioner Templin, do you want to speak on this particular item?
Yeah, I do, actually. And if I understood, so I was going back and forth with Abe before the meeting to talk about it. So it sounds like the only thing that we really want to discuss or align on is whether to discuss this at a future meeting. So I did put together a presentation, like a 2-page summary, but I'm not proposing actually to run through it. Maybe if you could just throw the slides up, Abe. And this was in the packet, so I'm assuming people have already sort of looked at it. So just go to the first slide, and I'll summarize it quickly here. Yeah, so I think I've heard from many people and seen it myself that children on e-bikes is just kind of a dangerous proposition, and what you see in this slide are some of the reasons why it's dangerous. We're putting children on motorized vehicles, and that just seems like a recipe for disaster and risk. So so that's basically what I'm trying to say here in slide 1. Slide 2. So slide 2 is just talking about, again, there's a pilot program underway in San Diego County that allows us to restrict the use of e-bikes for children 12 and younger. And there's a lot of cities in San Diego. I think there's at least 5 or 6. Santee was the last one that I heard that it's approved these kind of restrictions. And so, yeah, basically... there's a lot of reasons why you might want to restrict it, and I'm sure there are some reasons why you would not want to restrict it. What I'd like to do at the next commission meeting is, and of course this has already been discussed at council, and I think staff has already been instructed to work on this. But what I'm hoping to do at the next commission is go into the advantages and probably the disadvantages of this kind of regulatory environment. So I guess at this point, just requesting that we put this on the agenda for next month. And I think Abe was advising me that I'm going to need a second for that. So if somebody could second it, that'd be great.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. And Abe, the other thing I was asking was, I was hoping you'd give us a quick update on what council instructed you to do and where you are in terms of pulling some kind of doing research on this topic.
So at this time, the engineering department has not been instructed to make any analysis or recommendations regarding e-bikes. Now, with that being said, I don't know the discussions, and I can't speak to what conversations may have had with the sheriff's office or any other city department regarding regulation. What I can say, Commissioner Templin, is you did allude to the fact that I believe it was last Wednesday, maybe the Wednesday prior, there was a council-initiated item to discuss e-bike regulations, and at that time, we did have Captain Watts. He gave a little bit of a brief of what Sheriff's Office enforcement currently is doing, the laws that we currently have on the books, how their enforcement practices are, but there is no engineering or traffic engineering component to this at this point.
So basically another part of the staff is working on this, because it sounded like staff was instructed to do some research on, at least according to the article I saw.
It's very possible, Commissioner Templin, but that is not
your purview.
Engineering department, no.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
We just have one public comment from Aaron Hebshe.
Hi again, Aaron Hebshe, Leucadia District 1. I don't actually know if this is the right venue to say this, though, but I did want to make it obvious to many of you who may not have kids in town or at school, at local schools. We do have training at schools for kids. Nobody's allowed to bike to school unless they have received a training and they get a little yellow tag or blue tag on their bikes. I think in a lot of this heavy-handed government regulation approach to e-bike safety can actually be focused on the wrong issue. I do have friends, so I personally am advocating for my own fifth grader to use her own power to bike to school. But I do know that there are some kids that are less than able. I also know that there are some kids that have pretty big hills to go up to get to school. And these mobility tools can be really important for them. I just wanted you guys to keep that in mind as you're considering a blanket cut on, or blanket regulation against kids under 12. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. So are there any roundtable items that people would like to discuss? This is Commissioner's
Yes.
Corner now. Okay.
I've been on this commission for 6 years, and this is my last meeting. And I'd like to thank Abe and the city staff for all the support you've given us, and the other commission members for sometimes vigorous discussions. I've seen some changes happen over the time. I've seen us reduce speed limits in town. I've seen red lights come and go, and maybe the red lights will be back again. And I just want to thank everyone for being patient with this commission. And things move slowly, but we have made some changes, and I'm happy.
And we appreciate your, all your service. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay, anything else anyone wants to bring up? Okay, meeting adjourned at 8:08.
Okay.